である程度スピーチのこと分かってないと聞いてて辛くなるかもしれない。皆さんが辛い顔されるとますます話すの辛くなるんで、ある程度内容のことに関して日本語でちょっと言っておきましょうか。彼が何て言ったか知ってます？ I have a dream. I have a dream. 全く聞いたことない人どのぐらい？皆さん聞いてらっしゃる？知ってらっしゃる？最初に彼がその100年祭だから5 score years ago って言うんですけど、これ4 score and 7 years ago our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation リンカーンのスピーチになぞえて5 score years ago って言ったわけです。1 score は20年なんで、100年前にこういうことが来たけど現状はまだこうだと。で、なのでこのワシントン DC に来たと。ところであの時20万人すごいもう木の上に人が乗ったりなんかして、オバマの話戻しますけど、オバマの今回1月20日の就任演説は180万人ぐらい集まるって、どこに木の上でも20万人だからどこに登ったら180万人が来るのか分からないと思いますけど、当時すごいことでね。で最初に一言はスクリプトなかったんですよ。アドリブでグリーティング。それから5 score years ago はもうスクリプトにあったんです。で、そういうようなことを歴史にたどっていきながら今現状を伝えたくてワシントンに集まりましたと。でいろんな人がアメリカにいて、もういい加減これでもう鬱憤晴れただろうっていう人いるけど、とんでもないと、鬱憤なんか晴れやしないと。で皆さんに分かってほしいのは、この本当に今が一番大切な時、今のこの大変っていうのは最悪の状態っていうのを分かってもらって変えるってことが必要だということの話と、あとそうやってプロテストしてマーチしてる人たちに関しても、その非暴力のそういう抗議活動はこれからも続けていくんだと。何があっても、暴力とか使っちゃいけない。そして、信じる者は救われるじゃないですけど、信じて信念を持って正しいことをやってる者は必ず報いられるんだから、明日を信じて、ホープと同じね、明日を信じて頑張っていきましょうという中で I have a dream っていう一節が実はスクリプトなかったんですよ。それ前日に彼があるプリストさんだって牧師さんにですね、Martin, what's your dream? って言われて、彼はハッとしたらしいんですよね。What's my dream? って言って、ドリームを思った。前夜。それを語り始めるんです。だから、今あるビデオを見てもらうと分かりますけどですね、それまではスクリプト見ながら話してるんですよ。ところが、I have a dream になると顔を上げて、もうそのまま、もうスクリプトないんで。で、語って。で、最後は、その、Let freedom reign という言葉で、締めてくるんですけど、20分ちょっと長いんですけど、やっちゃっていいんですかね。じゃあ始めますね。I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 5 score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself an exile in his own land. So we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to a nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, will be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunny path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But there is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice in the process of gaining a rightful place. We must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must, however, conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow a creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back.